a chair. Take your cup on the road for your morning commute. This is Improv-A-Tea. He's Josh.
She's Tammy. Hi, Tammy.
Hi, Josh.
Hi.
I thought today that since we have the holidays coming up, see how I did that there?
Yeah.
Since we have the holidays coming up, Thanksgiving,
That's a holiday.
Christmas, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know where they're seeing us at. Whether they're seeing us before Thanksgiving.
These things happen every year. There's always going to be
It's
holidays
true.
coming up.
But this particular moment in time.
Okay.
And I guess you could
One
come back
moment in time.
every year, right at the holidays, and watch this episode. You're going to love it because
I
we're
work
going
for
to talk.
I work for the federal government. There's always a holiday coming up. So.
Well, yeah. I thought we would talk about family dynamics, since most people are going to be going back to spend time with their favorite people.
Oh, I see. So holidays are all going to be in there with their family.
Right. So your family. Oh, I should probably tell them again that we're the Gaelic Gambol. Should I do that?
Sure.
Should I keep telling them that? Do they know this yet?
No. Go ahead. Maybe they'll get it this time.
Well, I just want to cement this in. Make sure they know who we are.
I don't know who we are, but
He's already said he's Josh, and I'm Tammy, and we're with the Gaelic Gambol. And alternately, Improvise Live. I forgot to get that one in the last time.
oh, you mean the one that we did a podcast about names? So you forgot to give them one of our names,
Yeah.
and that irony.
Well, that's like yeah, that's true. I don't even know what I was saying.
So we are the Gaelic Gambol.
That's right.
We are not all of the Gaelic Gambol. So you did that last time too.
Uh-huh.
So we're part of the Gaelic Gambol. An improvisation troupe. Improvisation troupe.
Agile interactors.
It's a term not thrown around at all, and no one knows what it means. So we try to define it through our podcast, and
Right.
it's a large idea.
It's a huge idea. It's this
But we
idea.
are a group of people that are entertainers. We'll give you
Yeah.
that. Because I am entertaining, and I'm with this group. So,
Right.
I carry a lot for, for the people on the podcast, I motioned to me and her.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm carrying this.
But not only entertainers, we're just people like you. And you can be an agile interactor as well. And in fact,
That's
you
true.
are. And that's what this podcast episode is going to talk a little bit about. You have so much experience in this that you don't even realize it. We're going to cue you in to just how much you know. So we got the holidays coming up, and that's a time usually when we spend differing amounts of time either with our families
Or your chosen family, possibly.
or your chosen family, or trying to escape for just a few minutes away from your chosen family if you're an introverted sort of person. You can only take so much time. We get it. We're not saying anything negative about that. But these people,
Your family?
your family, those people that you grew up with,
Mm-hmm.
your very first improv troupe.
Oh, I see where you're going with that.
Right?
So,
What is improv? We talked a little bit before in a previous episode about breaking the fourth wall, and not breaking it, but just being the opposite of the fourth wall, doing all of the time stuff. Improv and this agile interacting thing.
because people hear improv and think,
right?
they have a notion of, I know improv from Whose Line Is It Anyways, and they play the games, and they're making it up as they go along, and that's their ideal of it.
Right.
A lot of it. That's the popular version of it.
But what we want you to know is that that's not all that improv is. The improv that we've picked up at FAIR, this idea that we interact with each other easily relates to improv. It rolls right into it. And it really is a better expression than the comedy bits or that thing of improv, what improv is.
You're talking about agile acting.
Yes.
Is a better terminology for it, although it's not a known term. And it's hard to just straight up define.
Right.
But to describe, I guess we're going to try to describe it here.
So what I want you to do is think about all of those times where you, in the past, were girding you up for all of those family activities that you're going to go and enjoy. In the past, when you have, when you've been with your family, do you, for example, I sat in a group that was not my family one time, and they asked me how long I had been doing improv, and I told them, nine years or so at that time. And she turned around and she looked at me and she said, well, I would never be able to do that. I'm like, no, you're wrong. So tell me, do you ever...
Because they had that preconceived notion of
yes.
That's what this improvisation is.
Yes. So I turned around and I asked her, do you ever fill in what your spouse was going to say, the end of their sentence? Do you ever supply the end of their sentence? Well, yeah, I do that all the time. That's improv.
That's
improv. It's a very big part of, how many times did you go around fair and you were relying on somebody to set you up so that you could give the rest of the line?
And this was not, and also it's not always a thing where we've set it up beforehand. It's not a joke that we've had, but they know I know this end of it, or they know I'm good for
absolutely
that end of it, and they'll set you up for it.
Right. So, what that means is that these two people who are finishing each other's lines, they've spent enough time together to know what the other person is going to say.
Kind of, sort of, yes.
They kind of know some of the nuances of what this person is, how they respond to certain stimuli.
They're comfortable letting them take the baton, I guess, and run with it. And sometimes it's not always what you think, and that's a thing too. Like that other person that you rely on, you know that they're going to be good for the other end of what you're setting up here, but it doesn't go the way you think it does.
So that gets us to another point. Really fast and quick and dirty. A lot of us are worried about going back into our family environments and getting into those wonderful political conversations that we're all just loving currently, because gee whiz, do you talk about politics enough? No, let's go and talk about it in family holiday situations too.
Let's talk about politics where people know me and have known me for years and won't hold back on some issues. That sounds fun. Happy Thanksgiving. Right?
And so that's when you pick up your plate and you go and you sit at the kids' table, because I don't want to talk to Uncle Joe anymore.
I have an Uncle Joe, and I don't know where I was going with that. When you said something and I said, I was like, we're going to talk about our families. My family's odd.
Really?
Yeah. They're not horrible odd. I love them all. Distinctive odd, yeah.
Yeah. They are unique.
So, what are you getting at with this whole political...
So, you were saying that... see, what was it you said? You said words that made me go here.
Most of my family's on the same political page. That's why I don't have that issue. But
my extended family,
we also stay away from that topic too,
because it's polite conversation, right? We don't. go into polite conversations.
Well, my family also has not had polite conversations within a Thanksgiving. It's been very rude.
They're rude.
Yeah,
well, that works
they can be
too.
rude, but they're not offensive to anyone inside the room.
Gotcha.
Anyone, I sometimes think, man, people watching us right now, I feel sorry for them. But in here, it's really fun.
Yeah. It is. It is. I think you were saying something about you trusted that person with what you were giving.
What made you jump off that was like you think, okay, I trust this person with this. I know they're good for it. But then they go a different way than you preconceived there.
Yes.
Like, okay, they went left and I thought they were going to go right. But we're still in this because I've set them up. But I don't know where they're going.
Right. Which is a skill that we work really hard in fair circles, in fair casts, with trying to not be devoted to seeing the setup go a particular way. Because if you decide the path that something has to go on, there's no wiggle room for conversation.
No.
There's no getting around it. The other person you're just going to shut them down all the time.
Possibly, unless we do what we're getting at here, is to roll with it and to, I guess, bring up the term that's yes and.
Yes and the situation. So you get in and it's hard. It's not an easy thing.
It is a skill, yeah.
It's
a learned, practiced thing.
And the experiences that you've collected with your family is going to both help and hurt this particular type of communication. If you're in a political conversation with people in your family that you've dealt with for years and years and years, and you both know all of the baggage that binds, the baggage that binds.
The baggage that binds, family. Hashtag family, the baggage that binds. Wow.
No, family's a good thing.
Right.
Family's a good thing. But if you're getting into these conversations, you're going to have to work really, really hard to yes and these instead of just shutting down or picking up your plate and going to the kids' table.
If you want to have that conversation from all the way through, yes. Now, I see where you were going with political things and people that in families having the same politics, but that's maybe one of the hardest. One time my father said to me in polite conversation, you do not talk about religion or politics.
Right.
And, I mean, I live by that, but, I mean, sometimes, it's not a topic you cannot talk about with someone, especially with your family. But I think you're talking about an improv. We set them up to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get away from political topics with your family, sometimes if it's your trusted family, you don't yes and that. You try to shut them down. And you do learn from that, because in a family you might argue more than you do in improv, but you also know what not to do by that.
Mm-hmm.
So it might get heated. You might not want to know. You might realize you don't want to go this way. You don't want to turn it into like a political back and forth. So let me roll with it and help them out to somewhere different.
Let me roll it into another conversation.
Right.
Another topic.
And I see where you're getting at with family, and you do learn this with your family. And what I think of like that from your family is like, I have a brother. My parents have been married for a year older than I am. So my parents have been together as long as I've known. My brother I lived with them and my brother. And what I'm getting at is maybe playing games or things at home. There's two sides there sometimes. There's parents and there's kids.
Mm-hmm.
And him and I, my brother and I, will have and many siblings, they say they have an unspoken language.
Yes.
Because they're they're playing that game versus the parents. And here's the thing, the parents also have that language too, because they can give each other a look, or like you said, one can finish the other sentence and know that parent-kid struggle back and forth. So they can basically set you up. So in playing, say, card games or, family game night, they could do that. Like, my parents were good at cards. And so are my brother and I, as we became like partners in a cross table, like hearts or spades or something like that. We started learning to predict each other, and then that is a good example. Like, have you played? The game Hearts or Spades? Mm-hmm. That's a good example of you're playing with a partner. You are trying to predict what your partner has, but you can't see their cards. But you're both trying to play to get it to a certain number. So you have to trust that they know what they're doing and you know what they're doing, but you can screw them up at any time because you don't know that for real. But you can kind of read the way, because you know how your partner plays if you played with them long enough.
So you play suits?
Yeah.
So it's like Rook.
So basically the rules of the game, just to get it
it's
more
Rook.
of a... Yes, I don't know Rook. See?
Right.
See how we're two different games here, and I think you're right. I think we played Rook before, and it is suits, and it's playing tricks, and it is how many can you win and how many can I win,
yes.
and we need to get a combined number.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe Hearts, you're trying to get not as many, you're trying to get less, and then the opposite, Spades, you're trying to get more. Mm-hmm. But it is a game to where you're looking across the table at your partner, saying, can we do this and can they not screw us up, while simultaneously trying to screw them up.
Right.
So that became a thing between my parents could do
eye
that.
contact with your partner.
And that is a thing.
Convey the message.
During improv skits, I guess, not really skits, not the right word. Skits kind of a planned thing, but improv, when you're at the fair and you go one way with it, and they go the other way. And then you're looking each other in the eye being like, all right, you're going somewhere else with it. And they're looking at you like, you didn't want me to go here. They know you didn't want them to go. We picked this up from each other, mm-hmm. but they don't know where you wanted to go. And even that kind of self-correcting can go in a completely different way.
Right. But
somehow you both get to a satisfactory end. You'll get to the joke somehow. Something different will happen than you planned out. But you'll still get there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in playing those card games, you'll still get there. You didn't make enough. Maybe you made one more than you did. We'll get them next time.
Right.
It's one of those things. Yeah, I guess you're kind of trying for the perfect play, but it's it never does happen that way.
It's a little like one of our games is Three-Headed Expert.
So one of our improv rehearsal games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have three people, and they each get one word. So there's a topic that the audience gives the three-headed expert to talk about. And each person of the three-headed expert gets one word at a time, and they just have to keep adding to the explanation to answer the question. So if you only got one word, you can't control the rest of the message. You have to depend on the rest of the three-headed expert. And it keeps going back. It cycles back all the way around.
You can want it a whole lot, but they're not always going to say that word. And sometimes they're just that person that wants to say the wrong word, just to see where we're going with this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm that person, but sometimes that's really fun to be that person.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know, but I'm not that person.
You are.
Uh-huh.
You are. You so are.
The one year, maybe our first year, there was a three-headed expert I was involved in, to where the sentence went exactly the way like two or three of us wanted. And we were like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. High five,
Right. So sometimes there are what we found out in that game was sometimes there are phrases mm-hmm. that everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
They're just conventions in the community, standards. And if you say that one word with the right inflection, the next person is going to pick it up and they'll be able to complete the sentence.
I see what we did there. I'm sorry, that was a low-hanging fruit I went with there. I tried for that one.
Right. So
I rolled my eyes at myself on the video.
Yeah. So these are tricks that we've picked up and we can take them to our family gatherings and use them there too. We can let the conversation go.
Oh, Three-Headed Expert would be a great game to play with a family that actually. I want two people on there that are politically opposed because I want to see where that goes. That would go back and forth within a sentence.
That would be scary.
Yeah. It'd be scary fun. I'd do that. But
yeah.
I wouldn't play Three-Headed Expert with my family. There'd be words in there that you couldn't repeat. I couldn't tell the stories on this podcast. Well, but I could tell you if you like I Am to Me or something because they're funny. Somebody needs to know.
Yeah, he'll tell you.
Family show.
Tell you later.
Hey, this is a family podcast. This is actually family podcast about family on this one.
Family-friendly family podcast. Yes.
All right.
Well done.
So, talking about family being your first troupe, I mean, that's basically like your story was you had a friend that didn't know that she was doing this already. Like, she's done this her whole life.
Right. She's not only has she done it with her immediate family growing up, because that's what you do. That's the whole sibling rivalry and parent-child interaction thing. But we look for that in a spouse, in a significant other, when we get out on our own and find that other person that we want to spend the rest of our life with. We look for somebody that's going to
play well with you, I guess.
I absolutely, yes.
I feel like you started that not knowing the end of that sentence. Oh, you set me up for that? I don't know if you did or not. I don't know if that was in your plan or not, but a lot of podcasts that we are on this podcast learning is there's a thought she has somewhere. And I'm going to get it out there to you, and I don't know what it is.
It's his job as the responder.
That's what it is. The responder /
keep me on tracker.
Oh, I'm that job too now?
I thought you had decided.
Oh, God. Somebody's got to be the adult around here. You're the director. Right.
So, you got me off track.
Yeah, I did.
You're supposed to keep me on track.
Because I'm also the antagonist. In this group, I like to push people off track because I think it's hilarious. That's one of the things I've found that's fun about... Sometimes it is funny to throw them off the trail. But, I know when to do it. I know when you want me to end this scene, and I know when you want me to throw something goofy in there, too. Right. I know when it's okay to do it.
Right.
Not when you want me to. I know when it's acceptable.
Yes, and that's another thing when you get into your families, you know where the lines are.
I know Uncle Joe hates this type of thing, not to talk about this around Uncle Joe. Right.
You know the lines that you can't cross.
Unless you want to talk to and be that antagonist person.
Right. Do you want to?
No, so... My mother told me a story one time about dating my father, and it's like
I love stories from Annette.
Then this is when they were younger, and she said they were out on a double date, and she was bored, and she brought up race, and the other date, he was a little bit racist, and she knew that he would say something like in that vein because she knew he was like that. And I guess I was kind of thinking she didn't like this guy for her friend, like a setup deal. And she knew my father was very anti-racist and would shut that down and kind of incited argument / discussion. Like it didn't, I heard it didn't come to anything horrible.
And this was a date?
Yeah, this was like a setup because she was bored. I was like, Mom, come on, that is... It's like, you were like that as a girl. And she's like, I was then. That was a thing. She set that up.
Did he follow through?
Yeah. She knew he would do that.
How many dates had your parents been on?
I don't know at that point. Because I don't know the timeline of that. But that's the story she told me. And I was like, Mom, I wouldn't, because this is your mother that knows, this is the point why I realized my mother knows things after, I thought she didn't know anything, because that's what you do as a child. You're like, my mom don't know nothing. It's like, oh, she was right about all this stuff. Yeah. But she told me a story. I was like, Mom, how dare you? You were a normal person, and you did a dumb, goofy thing as a kid. But she's like, yeah, but we were bored. I didn't like that guy, and I just had your dad incite this. And, he didn't know anything about it. I'm sure he didn't even recall, my father, that story. But she knew he would be blatantly anti-racist to have this discussion. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, I guess they had, when you asked me how long they'd been together, she must have known they would do that enough to read them on that.
Yeah.
So, there's your point right there, but it's like, geez. Things like that, when you're saying you're looking at that in a partner, I get your point, but it's also like, why would you do that, Mom? Why would you do that to Dad?
But see, it's like you're on a team.
Oh, yeah.
If you're on a team with somebody, you want to know that they got your back.
He had her back, but did he know he was playing that game? Did he know that
it's not a game?
She put him in that situation.
Well,
it was like, that's the part I was like, oh, you just gotta push him out there and be like, watch him, he can do this.
Like your mom was a puppet master or something?
Yeah, that's the way I took it. Fair enough. Look, she still does that to my father. It's fine. Not to that extreme, but it's like, I get what you're saying there. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I've ever thought about it like that. For looking for a significant other like that in those terms. But yeah, I see what you're saying, that you would want someone that can play with you on that level.
If you meet somebody, what is the thing that, outside of, oh my gosh, she's got a nice butt, or whatever visual cues are doing this
so not physical is what you're saying. So a personality,
right?
Okay,
personality stuff. What is the stuff
that's
goes,
a thing that will click you in your brain to say, oh hey,
I want to see if this can go anywhere.
Right, fair enough. That's the thing that's like, okay, like we met on a Klingon chat board. It's a thing that we have in common. It's a thing that clicks, and it's like, oh, we're talking about this out of the blue. I didn't notice you until we were talking about this. Mm-hmm. One of those
shared interest.
Yeah.
They're going to support the conversation.
You're not wrong, and I guess I've had that experience too. I've just never thought about that as an improv thing. It's like I've been doing that my whole life and not noticed it. I see how I wrapped that around to your point before. See, when you tell me where we're going with this, I can do things like that.
You did good.
Yeah.
You did good.
I know I did.
All right. So we've talked about supporting the conversation with the yes and stuff. We've talked about respecting the fact that there are more than one person in a conversation. Three-headed expert. 1, 2, 3. Everybody's got their portion of responsibility for the conversation.
Correct.
You're not in control of the conversation, sort of deal. Yes, and that.
So, I know you were talking about family being your first troupe, and I get that, and that's a simple idea. Do you have any other examples of your family when they're younger, things that you carry on into what we do?
Well, you were talking about...
And when you say family, to me, it's like my mom and my dad and my brother. Mm-hmm. And I know it can be extended family too, but that's where it comes into my brain. Like my uncles are all goofy as well. Mm-hmm. I like how I ask you a question. I'm about to answer a question too. It's like my father has 4 brothers, so there's 4 guys that were brought up together. and they're all goofy. And the thing is, their situation, their family situation, it was so bad that they kind of had to be goofy. Now, the Uncle Joe that I have, one of his things distinctively is he has a laugh that is louder than the rest of them. Because I think they told me he was the youngest, he got picked on the most, so he had to laugh the hardest to keep from crying. And that's the situation. That's these 5 guys, and I think there's a cousin and a neighborhood friend. This group of guys were all in this bad neighborhood, and they grew up together, and they just had to learn to be goofy to not be, overtaken by the world.
Right.
And they are still like that today. Like
they were goofy as a group.
They're goofy as a group. They're goofy individually, but when they're in a group, when those 4, well, there's one that lives not in this state, even when he comes back to visit, when they're all together, it's goofy. Something always ridiculous happens, and it's fun. Mm-hmm. And I came up like watching them, and when I was a teenager, I didn't like them. I didn't like them. It was weird because it's like they embarrass me. They're all goofy. But that's the thing. I grew to love them, and I realized that I was acting like them from being around them, even though it's like, that's them. I'm not with them. They're goofy. They're all poking and ribbing me, and it's like, leave me alone. You guys are jerks. But it wasn't. It was me learning to be like them, and it was just me being a teenager and kind of backing away from that to realize, oh, wait, I'm just like those guys. One day they all came to fair, and you all saw them being goofy together, and they were like, his family plays. And so somebody was like, well, Josh had to get it from somewhere, and that's pretty accurate to this point. I kind of got it from them before I learned how to hone it in from you all.
Yeah. Let's take a break there.
Yeah.
I want to... First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming and joining us again. We've got several podcasts out there in the stream. You can
joining us for the first time.
Right. If this is your first time with us, you can backtrack and go look at that. Mm-hmm. If you're hearing us and not seeing us, you're missing half the action. Where are you? We want to see you more. Check us out on Patreon, and you can get the video that goes along with the audio podcast. Yeah.
It's a different experience. I would say to watch us, you can see me make the faces I do at you and just...
Right.
Not understand, and when I don't understand the faces I make, what are you trying to get me?
Yeah.
What do you want me to say here?
And you can actually see my sighing.
Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah, that's probably pretty fun too.
You're missing this.
Yeah.
And if you want to get in on this action, the Gaelic Gambol, which we are a part of, will have auditions for 2 spots on January 12th. If you want information on that, hit us up in the comments or hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Get in touch with us somehow.
That's right. And if you hit me up, I'll just send you to her. So yeah, that's fine.
You
could always.
He might take you out. So would you do that?
You mean me take them out? Or
No,
take them out to hang out.
Take them out.
Sure, whatever. I'm not doing anything. Well, after October, yeah.
1 or 2 of us may always be trying to set Josh up on dates out there, so it's a thing.
You can hear me sigh on that one. You can see me sigh on that one.
Right. So, Facebook, we're on Facebook as the Gaelic Gambol. We're on Facebook as Improvised Life. We have a blog out there for Improvised Life. We have a Patreon page. Check us out in any of those spots. Comment on YouTube or whatever, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Probably in an upcoming podcast.
Probably so.
And thanks.
Thank you.
Get back to it. Get back to it.
Oh, just get back to it. It's just like that. You look at me and snap, and I'm just right back there.
Get back to it. We were talking about family.
Yeah.
The whole podcast is about family. And that family dynamic. And your first real improv troupe is your family and all that, and getting into this family dynamic around the holidays. And you asked if I had any other examples.
Yeah.
And you were talking about your uncles.
My uncles. My father's brothers.
Yeah. Being this group of goofy people.
Yeah.
That knew how to be goofy together. One individual out of that group can be goofy, but when they all get together, it's amplified?
It's amplified. It's worse or better.
It's better.
However you look at it. I
don't go to your family functions, Josh. Maybe I ought to, because these
ought
uncles
to.
sound fun.
They are.
They are?
They are, but they are a fun that you can't have on this podcast sometimes.
Sure.
There's some words there and here and there.
Right.
And they know how to play and not be dirty as well. I mean, they won't do that around people outside. If you probably came to a function in one of their homes, that would be different.
Polite conversation.
Like they, they all were taught manners. My grandmother would say that. They don't use them, but they know them. They know how to. Yes. And getting back to an improv troupe from them, if I were to think of them, I think of them mainly. I mean, I'm not in this. I mean, I guess I am part of in this. That's where I watched and learned from. But they, as 5 brothers, knew each other's nuances. They would play games, like board games. Like the normal is get together, have a, Thanksgiving or something and play board games. Now, when they cheat, because they cheat on board games, it's...
For those of you on the audio, I'm putting my hand
They
over
don't
my mouth.
always cheat, but when at least 2 of them are cheating, they're on the same page so well that they've been doing this for years. One time I was watching them play cards.
So is there ever any real winning?
I think everyone wins if you're watching this.
Yeah.
If they were playing cards one time, and it was a back and forth where you have a partner and you don't know what they have, and they were playing, and there was a glass table. Now, this is my father and his brother, and they're playing their wives. Now, the wives are pretty good friends. They can play this game too, but they don't cheat the way that these 2 men do. And like the glass table, they would flip the card up under and look under the glass, and they were looking at each other's cards like this. I'm witnessing this. I'm witnessing this as a child, so that's probably where I learned how to not be good at things. But I'm seeing them do that, and sometimes they just, when the 2 women weren't looking, they would turn the card around and just have one facing them and turn it back around. They were doing so well. I mean, they got caught, of course.
Right.
And, they got what was coming to them, but it was hilarious to watch from an outside view. It's like, these 2, that's the thing they've worked on.
Yeah, they worked on it. They perfected that. In my family, the best example that we've got is Sam and Perrin, because they're twins. So what you hear, I mean, Sam, if he were behind the camera doing his job instead of somewhere else.
He's going to watch this.
I know. I love you, Sam.
He can edit you completely out of this. You know that, right?
He could.
He has power over you in this.
Power. Sam and Perrin are twins, so they've got this. They've always had this thing go. I mean, the one used to, when they were growing up, as a mother of twins, you hear, and it's very true, that they just sort of trade back and forth on these personality traits. Until everything sort of settles out when they're teenagers. But
is there an argument of I learned it from the other one and pointing fingers when darn well?
I mean, if one kid is biting one week, the other kid's going to be biting the next week. Now, it wasn't, I had a definite biter, and that wasn't Sam. Just call out my kids.
Just calling your kids out.
All over the place. place.
Wow.
Sam will appreciate that though. Because,
oh yeah.
Because
you're on his side at this point.
Right. But they can finish each other's sentences. They know what the other one's thinking, and it's only been here recently that with the daughter moving away, moving out of the house, that things are kind of changing a little bit. They are starting to have these conversations where they have different opinions. Used to, they functioned as a unit, and they went out into the world and they went onto the playground, and the kids, one of them had a very distinctive style of kind of holding back, and the other one went out and made all of the friends and brought them to the other one. Kind of a deal.
Did you give birth to an extrovert and introvert at the same time? That's neat. That's a neat trick.
Actually, I think I gave birth to two introverts, but that they self.
Did they switch off when one was doing one and the other would be outgoing and the other would be... Really?
It was really kind of... I don't know if they do that twin... I feel my twins doing this, or I don't know.
Well, that was the thing I was about to ask you, because there is that people bring up, and you kind of wonder, is it just learned improv?
Right.
Is it just like a thing that they... I mean, you've been with this person your whole life, you know the ins and outs here.
Right. You kind of know what this person is doing already, so maybe you can kind of guess how they feel. Or I don't know. I don't know if they have that or not.
A lot of times, some con artists, when they do like possibly a reading or something like that, that's what they're doing, is they're playing you improv. They're reading what you're doing,
right,
and they're throwing it right back at you.
And there's only so many. There's only there's a set of responses to some things, and they're really good.
They're really quick, and they'll catch on something. Oh, that one got you. Oh,
yep.
Yeah. And
just an eye tick, and we're picking up on those when we're in our family situations too. We're picking up on the body language. We're picking up on the tone of voice. We're picking up on all of these things, and all of those are tools that we as interactors have in our toolkit. And it's what you have in your toolkit too. You can do these things. You do them all the time.
Honestly, the only difference between us and them is that we practice it and we hone it more.
I think the only difference is that we are cognizant of what we're doing. Because you do it all the time, and you practice it without knowing that you're doing, or without, I don't want to say you don't know you're doing it.
The example I always used when going to the fair was working, because I saw it at first as a customer service job. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of what it is, but it was the fact that I was doing this in my customer service in the workforce, and I brought it there, and then I was taught that, hey, I'm cognizant of this now. I was taught this, and now I can use it a little bit better. But I didn't learn to do that from the workforce. I learned that from watching my parents do that in the workforce. So I learned that from my family.
Right.
That how to treat people in customer service. So basically, that's another thing I learned bringing it into the fair. Didn't know I was doing, just the way I interact with a customer, because as I was younger at places, saw my mother do it, saw my father do it.
Yeah.
It was just a learned thing.
Right. When our family, like your uncles, they teach us by repetition these things that we see all the time. Like my youngest Moira looks at her siblings being twins, and there's 10 years difference, but by golly, she's going to talk about herself in the same breath as almost a triplet, That's,
okay.
She wants to be part of that group.
Well, that's another thing. I was always told, this is my mother told me, that when I was growing up, that my brother looked up to me and did everything that I did.
Yeah.
Now, that might have been true. And yeah, at one point we did have same opinions. And now, we do share very similar opinions because I still live with him in a different sense, but he's a different person. Mm-hmm. I moved out at one point. We became different people. We became adults. Mm-hmm. And then we could live together again. At one point I would tell you that I could not have lived with my brother just for sibling idiocy and rivalry. But we weren't fully grown yet. I
had my dad sit here at my table the other day and say, you know what? I don't think I could have either of you girls live with me anymore. And I'm like, gee, Dad, I love you too. But I get it because as an adult, you go away and you grow independently and you're doing different things and you're not combined anymore. You're not trying to stack your experiences together and fit them so that a whole household functions. You're in different places doing different things, and you might share some interests or whatever, but you're not going to be as apt to finish each other's sentences, and you're sure as heck going to get tired of each other quicker. And because you're used to doing things as an autonomous unit.
So, as you take a step back from the group, say there's one now that we have that we sent off to college, so she's going to come back being grown up and be a little bit different, but
Shout out to Annie.
Do you think from being removed from the Gambol that she's going to lose a step with us? Obviously, yes is the answer. You're going to lose a step with us in improv, but also it's still going to be there.
I think
it's still there. It might be different when you come back. It's a weird thing I'm saying here. It's like, yeah, you're not having as much time with us, so you're going to lose a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. But also, you've had time with us. You still have that.
Right.
And that's still going to work. But it's also going to work differently when you come back, too. That's a fun thing. You got this and this.
I think we have...
And that's with family, too.
We already have an experience with this. We have Sarah that came back.
That is true.
Hi, Sarah.
Yes.
Sarah was out. Sarah was with the Gambol for 3 years, and she was out 1 or 2, and now she's back with us, and we are overjoyed to have her back with us. And I
was nodding my head on the podcast. I just wanted if someone's just hearing the thing, I'm just.
He's just validating for you, Sarah. But it feels. To me, like we're like putting on a shoe that we're familiar with. You have boots that you don't wear all summer long, and then the winter comes back, and you have this comfortable thing again.
I saw some of that with her in the our first rehearsal we had back together, because it was like she remembered a dance that we hadn't danced, but she remembered it from when we did dances, so she knew the move that somebody was not recalling. I was like, yeah, that right there.
And she remembered how she had to recall
how we had to recall
pattern.
The first time you did it. Yeah.
So she was able to teach some of our
newer ones
what we had made intrinsic by that time, and weren't remembering how to teach. So it was really kind of a cool experience.
Yeah.
And I think that families can do that. I think
you kind of can't get rid of your family.
You can't get rid of them. You can't. You can walk away from family as easily as you can walk away from anybody else. And you have to make the choice. And every member of the family has to make the choice to be a unit. You have to work together or not.
In adult life, you do have to go that direction while they go this one. But you do have the option as a family of coming back together at a later point.
Right.
And that's, I guess, a different end of it. Not where you're getting improv from, but where it's going. I guess a futuristic thought about it. With the Gambol and with your family. Like, I haven't seen you for years, but maybe I can hang out with you. I had a friend in high school that was about like that, and we just lost track of each other for about 10 years. He married his high school sweetheart and has like 4 kids, but when I started hanging out with him again, it was like the same person. And he is not the same person because he has a wife and 4 kids. Completely different person and a grown up, and we were kids. But we fell into, hey, let's do this thing where we just go hang out and do the same thing we used to do. And that's an odd thing, really. In my brain, that's an odd thing.
But comfortable.
But comfortable because you can just pick up there. So I guess it is, when you say look for significant others, also when you look for friends, and I'm talking like lifelong friends, that's a thing too. It's like, this is the type of person that, I mean, there are friends you lose track of and you don't get back with them, and there may be a reason for that because you don't have that thing.
Right. So maybe, improv is not so much knowing exactly what to do, knowing exactly how to fill in somebody's sentences or how to spot the nuances, or that. Maybe it's just comfort.
The feeling that you can do that.
The feeling that you can.
And possibly you might get there, but then again, if you don't, that's fine.
That's okay too.
And that the fact that if you try, they'll help you, back into it.
Yeah. Safety sort of is a consideration because it's comfort.
So you're saying improv is family and family is improv? Do you see how that worked out?
Josh. Music to my ears.
Was that on your notes? Is that one of those
things?
No,
you did that all by yourself.
Oh, all by myself.
Good job.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So.
And you can see on the actual video, she gives me like cookies like a dog when I do something good like that. You can't hear it on here because I don't eat I'm a professional. See how I'm doing things for the camera that I'm not doing for the microphone, and that way you can get. Right. That's an incentive for them to.
I'm not giving him cookies this time, but you need to check out the.
You gave me cookies one time when I was here, and I come back and there's no cookies. It's one of those. It's what drug dealers do.
I do dinner. Maybe you can break dessert.
She did give me dinner, and I can't argue about that because I've gotten free food to do this. Sorry.
Yeah. So
I'll dial that back, so I'll stop getting fed too. This is your coffee, right? I mean tea. This is tea. Sure, tea.
Yeah. Enjoy your holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.